Dublin's GPO, traditional starting point for Irish multi-stage cyclists.
Well, obviously, number one choice is Billy Kerr.
There's more than Irish riders in it. Could easily be a foreigner to win too, but I think Kerr must be the favourite,
Well, obviously, Seamus Kennedy, Paddy Flanagan, Aaron McCormick, Stephen Roche.
Some of the visitors.
Whatever the visitors, I don't know. I'll judge them as I go along.
Maybe we can win the classification of the team. Maybe, but the Irish riders are very strong this year.
There are even riders from the NCA and the ICF on the one team, which is something that would have been unheard of a few years ago.
Well, you've got to make a bid for it, Yellow jerseys up.
The French call the bicycle le petit reine, the little queen, a euphemism perhaps for an implement of torture. June was a month of mixed weather, but as the cavalcade of colour set off from Dublin on the way to Longford, the forecasts were optimistic. Ahead lay 9 tortuous days and 900 miles. It was the first time for all 3 native cycling associations to show a united front. The feeling was one of newfound vigour and hope. The field numbered 109 riders. Alan McCormick of the ICF team with Wicklow's Michael Nulty made the very first break. McCormick was prepared to act as hare by pounding out at blistering pace. The chasing pack went through Kilcock during a period of doubtful sunshine.
The conditions are getting very cold. Now what about the rain? Did that make it cold? Yeah.
Was McCormick paying a penalty for being so ambitious? Behind in the bunch, Billy Kerr was smiling. Rain adds to the inherent danger, impairing visibility and sending riders all over the road. Indeed, the break was caught quite early by a disciplined bunch, and afterwards every move by a marked man was pounced upon. And by the end of the 80 miles to Longford, it was the Belgian number 8, Albert Pennan, who was to be the wearer of the coveted yellow jersey on Sunday on the way to Westport. Again, there was an early break. 5 riders combining beautifully, with Alan McCormick as the catalyst, Richie McCormick, the dictator of pace, Brendan Madden, the verbal motivator, and busy workers in Donal Crowley and Noel Clark. Behind, a chasing trio with Michael Nulty and Alan McCormick's ICF team partners Tony Lally and Stephen Roche. They joined near Strokestown, after which it was easy to speculate that the green and yellow-shirted Federation trio numbers 21, 24 and 25 could operate to pre-arranged tactics. Strength of purpose, strong, unrelenting legs, pushing pedals into the wind out on the open road. That's the tale of the racing cyclist.
How are you feeling? All right. Well, yeah.
Better than the rest of us.
It's energy sapping out there, but energy can be regained by food stored in the jersey's hidden pouch. Sweets, apples, glucose tablets, and even the difficult-to-digest banana. Ballyvarry, Castlebar and Newport saw breaks hauled in and fresh riders jumping from the bunch. There were few opportunities to relax, although there were those so full of youthful confidence as to play games with the camera.
Can I say hello? Hello there! Can I say hello? Yeah, of course you can. Hello!
That's confidence, and when the downhill sprint to Westport finish came into view, it was the same young man, Stephen Roche, that left riders searching for his wheel. Wicklow's Columnulty became the new race leader from ICF's John Short, but the star of the stage was the smiling Stephen Roche, the day's winner, a superb worker, and now third overall. For Columnulty, the yellow jersey of leader became a collar of lead. It marked him in the bunch and left him surrounded by the best from the leading teams. So that early break held very little significance. And then came a chance for a real break and absolute disaster for Columnulty.
Come on. Come on. Look at me. Quick, help me to the fucking big chain ring. Is it right? Right. Go ahead.
While the cat was out, the pace was quickened up front. Even the 78 health race winner, Seamus Kennedy, was feeling the pinch. And John Short, out there in the break, became the new race leader.
Have to make it to Ennis first. Hey, what's it like out there? Very windy.
The 12-man break was preening itself for the Ennis Showdown as far as 12 miles out. Some were literally hanging in at the tail, while others openly flung down the gauntlet in claim of superiority.
Great. Very strong. Keep going for time now.
Who would you worry about with this group?
No one.
Paddy, who would you fear most in this group?
Again, Stephen Roche was prepared to lead them out. A dangerous tactic unless there are energy reserves, and Shannon Aero Club kept a watching brief overhead. And then came the charge to the line. The bluffing had ended. Strength and cunning help in situations like this, but the sprinter is so often the king. Pick a wheel, watch the gear change, catch the broken air. First to that line is the goal. By sprinting superbly over the final 100, Bernard McCormick of Wicklow took the stage, jumping from 84th to 15th. Peter Morton Wicklow and Brian Stevenson NICF led in Stephen Roche, while John Short claimed the yellow jersey for Tuesday.
It's just like from early on, like a small break went away, and I had to go across, and that's when we on. Like just two other lads just sitting there. I do all the work and close a minute gap first myself. And then like when I got up there was only 3 or 4 of us working all day until the group came up with Stephen Roche. And we just wasn't really Stephen did all the work then in the road and we to gain all the time. It was a very hard day though.
I moved up 1 place overall, so I'm 2nd overall now. And we're about 4 minutes ahead of the 2 danger men. So I'm happy now. So I didn't mind working like John's race later, I'm 2nd.
It's still only Monday, it's a long way to go yet till next Sunday. It's all over.
It was tough, lithe and little Alan McCormick that set the pace on Tuesday. With 2 mountain preems in the 90-mile run to Carrick, he was expected to greatly improve his 24th place. Stephen Roche, second overall and blue jersey man as points leader, punctured only 15 miles out. But within seconds his TI rally was given a new wheel and Roche was back in his stride, his finely tuned limbs flailing the 12 sprocket. Within minutes, Stephen was back with the break, a sturdy lot that included Short and McCormick from the ICF, Seamus Kennedy NCA, Kesters of Belgium, De Hay of Holland, and Michael Nulty. The peddling cavalcade made its way through Castlemaine, Killorglin, and on to the beautiful and rugged Ring of Kerry, a holiday land for tourists, but for racing cyclists, a fierce and heart-wrenching challenge. Still to come, the King of the Hills Preem at Coominaspic, a 2-mile slog with a 1 in 10 gradient. Now, 4 days and 300 miles out of Dublin, the weak-limbed could well be destroyed.
I'm boxed, if you'll excuse the expression. C'est encore difficile.
And Stephen Roche. Alan was king of the hills, but Stephen was the new race leader. It was now downhill to Cahersiveen.
I told you yesterday, today was my day. Yeah, it was quite hard. We were out there from the start, got away after 5 miles. So it was quite hard.
Great stuff.
That last climb about 15 miles ago was very stiff.
I'd say now about 4 minutes, or close on 4 minutes in hand. So I'm my nearest man, so
So it'll be a bit of a protection racket on tomorrow, will it?
yeah. Well, I hope so anyway, because I'm not having 3 hard days, like, so another one, like, have to take it easy tomorrow.
When there are mountains to be climbed and challenges to be warded off, there's no such thing as taking it easy. Wednesday proved as difficult as the previous day. With the mountain Preem only 15 miles out from the start and on the way to Mallow, there was not even time to get the blood warm, and Dermot Dignam, the race director, selected such narrow and twisting roads that servicing was nearly impossible. A simple puncture or broken chain resulted in the loss of irretrievable time. It was Ballygasheen, all 900 feet of it, that demonstrated how dangerous the hills could be. It called on every ounce of energy within the rider's body. It demanded powerful lungs, and on the way up, pain barriers were bridged. The descent at speed gave a welcome respite, but there again, it took guts, experience, and a certain kind of foolhardiness.
Flash, take the bike off the road. Take the bike off the road. Take the bike off the road.
Will you bring the wheels because the spark is gone?
The luckless Jan van Boxtel was badly injured when the front fork of his bike snapped. He was released 3 days later from Tralee Hospital. Down the road, ironically, his teammate Canaran was stranded without service. But the race at the front flared up. The break was a powerful one with yellow, red and blue jerseys in the 16-man group. Billy Kerr played the role of Chief Marshal.
Pretty strong headwind again today. But we're looking might stay away.
Race leader Stephen Roche was still the anchor as they went through Killarney. He was stoutly supported by Short, McCormick and Tony Lally, with the NICF's McKeown and Kerr as likely dangers. Mary McKinney, the Northern team manager, had the situation well summed up.
But again, we'll have to wait and see.
Tell me, who do you think would be the strongest of that group up there?
Well, if it comes to a sprint finish, it's Tony Lally.
He's been doing a tremendous amount of work in the background for their team leaders at the moment, and we hope to be able to repay him today with a stage win into Mallow.
Where is he lying overall?
He's 21st in general classification at the moment, but he should move up some place today.
And then came the moment when it was every man for himself. After all, a stage win was worth £30. Lally the sprinter was sat upon. Race leader Roche was tracked incessantly, while Wicklow's Peter Morton, number 107, slipped the lot to be first past the line. The first 11 in Mallow were given the same time, while Morton improved to 12th on general classification. Again, it had been a rough 3.5 hours of riding. The field was now cut to 90 and the accident rate had risen. The Irish Cycling Federation team with Stephen Roche, John Short and Alan McCormick held the top 3 places overall, from Billy Kerr of the Northern Federation, Michael Nulty of Wicklow, with Eamon Connolly in 6th, the leading NCA rider. Jean-Claude Breur of France was the leading visitor at 10th. That was 10 minutes back from the yellow jersey. There was now a chance for Stephen Roche to relax a little, but his sheer aggression kept him from hanging in.
Stay up before the times. Make sure I hit the time, one of the first groups.
Is this day very important to you?
Oh yes. Lose too much time.
Out of Lismore, Bernard McCormick and Cork's Dennis McCarthy made a brave sortie. They were soon attacked and hauled back, and although speeds were up or above normal, there were few brave hearts who relished the idea of trying one's luck up the road, with 2 hard mountain climbs before the day's end in Carrick and Shure. Over the final miles, there was a three-man offensive. Alan McCormick, Oliver McQuaid and Brewer of France. The Irishmen had the advantage of numbers, but could they control their own ambitions? McQuaid took the King of the Hills jersey from McCormick, and Carrick and Shore was presented with a most unusual finish, particularly Cooney's corner. The strong Frenchman stole the spoils from McQuaid and McCormick. Tully Lally led in the chasing group that included the yellow jersey, the NCA's Dennis Devon and Seamus Kennedy. But ICF tactics were suspect that day, to say the least.
Rough today. Very rough.
Why was it so rough?
Well, the wind was sort of witching, it was very fast. And the climb came so late then, you had to try and keep it together before the climb, you know. And then stay up on the climb then as well, you know.
Yeah, and then you were 2 men away, hadn't you?
Yeah, so I wasn't blind with that either, you know.
Yeah, and then Tony Lally dropped back.
But you see, I had 2 men away. If I punched around, I'd no man to help you up, you know. So I had to keep bringing them back, you know. So there's probably a bit of talk about it tonight, all right, you know, but it's of the jersey, you know.
We were concerned to get some more time over Billy Kerr before Sunday's time trial, and the number 2 and 3 men are quite close to Billy. So with Alan going away today now, he's opened up roughly a 3-minute gap on Billy. So it leaves him in a much stronger position to retain his second place now at this stage.
Despite a cracking pace early on the Friday, Brendan Madden of Galway found a chance to slip away for a period. He was later joined by a resolute phalanx that included the improving Frenchman Brewer, Billy Kerr and Aidan McKeown of the NICF team, and inevitably the yellow jersey. The gap at Goran was 45 seconds, anything but conclusive, with 2 hill climbs further along the twisting road to Tullamore. Mountain Preem, a race with special King of the Mountain prize money and points within the stage, was at the butts outside Loughlin Bridge. And with 14 now in the break, the sprint over the line was revealing. Once strong, always strong. Billy Kerr was the master, from McCormick, Michael Nulty and, of course, Stephen Roche. On the way down and through Newtown, Bernie McCormick and Brendan Madden sat out on their own, but Madden was soon dropped. Climb over the cones near Clonaslee deadened further so many weary legs. Cycling is a sport only for the very fit, but the good climber has strength and guts in reserve. before stage end, it was Bernard McCormack all on his own. Axel Hilgert of Germany came in a lonely second. The bunch sprints saw Tony Lally pip Oliver McQuaid on the line with Stephen Roche safely tucked in. The 90 miles from Carrick and Shore had left some riders exhausted with 2 full days still to go.
It's very rough in the climb. It's wind all the way up, isn't it?
So we were just sitting there.
Oh, yeah. So now it's flying again today. I was under a bit of pressure yesterday, but just streaming again today. So
Well, it's all over.
much happier
Really all
now.
wrapped up, isn't
Much
it?
happier.
Jeez.
Even the giants of the road detest the inevitable puncture. That's where the convoy of servicemen come in. A 10-second wheel change is about average, but there's still the broken rhythm and the worry of being dropped off the back of the bunch.
Tighten it, Mike. Come on, Eddie, come on, Eddie, come on, come on. Come on, get your feet in. Come on, only 5 cars gone.
The only significant break on Saturday came after 2 hours out. Albert Kester's number 5 for Belgium, Jean-Claude Bourreur of France, and the Irish national road racing champion Pat Healy of Kerry slipped the field. The pace-setting trio presented no challenge to the yellow jersey, but it was remiss of Roche's team not to have sent riders after Bourreur who could still finish second or third. Pat Healy, the NCA-affiliated Kerryman, stuck tenaciously to the Belgian and Frenchman and did his fair share of work in the wind. Behind Stephen Roche was the only one to lead a lazy field, and the gap was widening with every arm wave to the spectators. And then Pat Healy was dropped from the break by a puncture. Kesters and Bourreur were on their own. The gap was now over 2 minutes, and Stephen Roche's lead was being whittled away. Bourreur was up to 4th, while Kesters was feeling the pressure. So into the Navan finish went Jean-Claude Bourreur, a clear-cut winner with a lot of class. It was the Frenchman's second stage win, and he was now equal on time with third man overall John Short. Kesters, coming second, improved to 9th. The sprint of the day, setting Navan alight, saw Bernard McCormack lead in Stephen Roche and Pat Healy.
I
Alan McCormick had regained the red King of the Hills jersey and was still second overall. A minute to spare over Brer and Short, but full 4 minutes behind the impressive Stephen Roche.
This is most important.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Sunday's 16-mile time trial was also most important. It represented the sport at its purest, the rider alone on his lightweight machine waging battle against his tiring body and that old enemy, time.
3, 2, 1, go.
It was now or never for the 19-year-old Dublin fitter. Mountain King McCormick was showing signs of tiring while John Short lost time to Brer on the way to Slane and back. At the 8-mile mark, Kerr was up on time while Michael Nulty had lost his concentration, and further on, his brother Colm was feeling the pain of loneliness. Paddy Flanagan's fall in Kerry had slowed him up dramatically, while on aggregate, the NCA team had lost the national classification to France.
26!
As so often in the past, the time trial proved a great leveler, but once more, Stephen Roche showed his supreme command.
I'd say it should be all right, though.
Did you enjoy that?
Oh, yes.
What's different about time trials, Stephen?
I'd be okay up here, because sometimes you're carried away. You know, you have to be able to keep your concentration on the fella in front of you. Many want to beat all the time. But I broke a stroke going over there, you know. Broke
Just snapped, did it?
So, immediately affecting me up here. So, for a minute, they just had to help it, I'll keep going.
The results of the time trial: Stephen Roche 36.47, Billy Kerr 36.58, and the overall position after the time trial is Stephen Roche 29.32.10, JC Brewer 29.38.17.
How good a guy is this fellow Brewer?
Well, we understand now this morning that he was being 4th or 5th in the Grand Prix of the Nations time trial, so that's he's obviously a pretty hot performer already.
I also heard that he was French champion.
I heard that too, yeah. We didn't know that beforehand.
Stephen Roche's health race win was now a certainty. Jean-Claude Brer had stolen a march on the ICF riders by jumping into second place at the expense of McCormick and Short. We'd reached the final act of a wonderfully woven drama. Dublin was over the horizon, and the final stop for blistered bottoms and tired limbs.
On the 9th and final stage of the 1979 Health Race, sponsored by the Health Education Bureau and the
The Health Race 79, with its unity aspect, was an example to all sportsmen. New and lasting friendships were created, and the competitive element proved tough. There were now less than 80 riders in the convoy. So, to the final act, through the gates of the Phoenix Park, led by the golden young knight mounted on his iron steed. There were still 12 laps to be ridden before the flag, but somehow the grass and trees looked greener to him than ever before.
I can smell the whitewash.
Over the 12 laps, there were 6 special lap prizes. Stephen Roche initiated the break from the bunch with Bernie McCormick and Germany's Axel Hilgert. The two Irishmen then proceeded to share the spoils in the sprints.
Hey! 6 miles to go.
That's right, yeah.
The gap to the bunch was over 30 seconds. Roche was reigning supreme, and Irish cycling had found a new, clean-cut, articulate, and confident hero.
Fairly confident. You know he's saying that. You're glutton for punishment, you know that? Are you thinking of work tomorrow? Oh no. The girls in work. I'm going to go to the party tonight. Oh yes. I'll enjoy myself tonight. The legs won't be sore anyway. Way to go. Not bad, bad, did he? Good lad.
9 days had passed, 9 stages, each telling its own story. But there was one master, a young man now on his way home to his mother in Dundrum for his first home-cooked meal in over a week.
Sausages or what?
Steak.
Steak. Will your mother hand it ready for you?
Steak and ice cream.
There was still the final sprint, a 200-yard dash in which Hilgert catapulted past the Irishman to win the final stage in a race of many special memories. But it was Stephen Roche's hand that went the highest. He won most of the glory at the end of the Health Race 1979, a race that saw so many racing wheels turn in glorious unison.